Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today as we take you through the iFunds investor call, where we review the results for the first half. Just a reminder before we start off the call, if you have questions throughout the presentation, please write them in the chat and the Q&A, and we will get to them. Also, a reminder that we are starting off with the first session, which is English. And then at 5, we'll proceed with the Swahili session. So that's also an advantage if you've logged into the English session and would like to continue learning more maybe if Kiswahili is a more favorable language, you can also stay for the Swahili session and ask further questions. That being said, this session is also recorded, so it will be available on YouTube, just in case you or someone you know has missed it, you'll be able to let them know that they can log in. After that intro, I would like to welcome Professor Wasame to welcome us today and give us a bit of insights on what iTrust has in store for our investors. Karibu, Prof.
Thank you very much, Winnie. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone to our first half results for 2026. I'll start off with a few things about iTrust. And so far as iTrust, most of you have been investing in our funds, but we do have other business lines. We do have a lending business line where we do lend funds. We have a brokerage, so if you are trading in shares and bonds, you're welcome to trade through iTrust. We also do advisory, where we actually capital raising for company. We do capital raising for companies and government and other institutions that require that particular service. So far, we've been quite successful. Our amount of transactions we've done over 20. We have raised over 1.13 trillion in the last 3 years. Brokerage turnover last year was around 230 billion. And we have a loan book lending from our own balance sheet of about 80 billion as of May 2026. Looking at what's been going on so far in the year 2026, very exciting things have been started off the year with us listing the East Africa's first exchange-traded fund that is regional. This was launched on the 28th, listed on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. We were looking for about 10 billion. We raised 54 billion, and that has been a very successful product that it has today reached about a market cap of 157 billion. We also in April did our 12th sukuk. We have done 11 more successful sukuks, but the 12th sukuk was quite achieved, and that 12th sukuk actually raised about 14.8 billion. I think please ignore the number here. This is referring to something else. And then in May 2026, we started off with Mwalimu Commercial Bank rights issue. This was actually listed a week ago, and we were the lead advisor and sponsoring broker, and we were able to raise for Mwalimu MCB, Mwalimu Commercial Bank, about 20.42 billion in this rights issue. We also carried out in June iTrust's inaugural maiden corporate bond. This got listed also recently. And we were looking for about 100 billion, and we raised 114.17. In fact, the target was 15 billion. The program size was 100 billion, and we ended up raising 114.17 billion. So far, I think for all of you investors on this call, you're going to be very excited to hear that we do have an exciting MTN program opening next week. This is INM Bank's MTN program. And this is going to be open from Monday. For those of you who have our app, you can actually go and subscribe through the app. If you have the portal, you can do the same. If you need to get in touch with our team here at iTrust, we'll be very happy to assist you with that. With that, I think it gives you an idea about what we've been doing so far in the year. So it has been quite an eventful half a year for iTrust. And I would like to welcome now the fund team from iFunds, from our fund management unit, to take you through the performance and the fund's position as of the half-year mark, June 2026. Karibuni.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll now take you through the half-year results. We'll start with the money market funds. Our first fund is iDollar. iDollar Fund is a dollar-denominated money market fund. This fund is suitable for investors who have low risk tolerance, but at the same time want to hedge against currency defluctuation when it comes to, inflation of our local currency. So as you can see in our iDollar Fund, the return that we got on the dollar fund on its own was 2.63% for the half year. But at the same time, on the FX return, we had 6.26%. So if you add this, it comes to almost 8.9%, which is a representative if it was in Tanzania shillings return. And then the general return, if you compare with how the benchmark performed, we outperformed it by 0.71%. AUM-wise, we started the year at around $13 million. By the end of June, we are $38.6 million. So that shows a significant growth of 191% in AUM. Then the NAV at the beginning of the year, we were at 102. We closed June by 104.8413. So that also shows a significant return. And then on our asset allocation side, 28% we are holding on corporate bonds. We had 72% in time deposits. And then the fund vis-a-vis the benchmark, since inception return, which was 4.84 against our benchmark, which was 3.53%. Since inception annualized, 5.4% against our benchmark, which was 3.94%. Year-to-date return and annualized, which was 2.63% against our benchmark, 1.92%. Year-to-date annualized is 5.37% against our benchmark, which is 3.9%. So this is the first money market fund. We'll go to the balance sheet, which is, we started at the close of the half year, which was at 38.51 million. And then on our profit and loss, we had 912,212,000. And then on our net asset value was 104.8413. Kindly note that these financials for the interim have also been posted on our website. You can easily check it online and you'll see all the numbers for our funds. On our money market fund, which is Tanzania denominated iCash fund. iCash fund is also suitable for investors who have low risk tolerance and would want to keep their funds for a short to medium term period. On the return side, we had a proper 5.64% for the first half year, which shows how much we outperformed our benchmark by 2.95 if you compare with the Treasury bill, which had an average of 5.5 to 6.5%. On the AUM terms, we started the year with around 35 billion. By the end of June, we had 59.37 billion. That shows a significant return of 69% growth in AUM. On the net asset value, we had 119.1917, which shows the half-year return again as 5.64%. On the asset allocation, we had 48.7% held in treasury bonds, 17.9% in corporate bonds, 33.2% in term deposits. And then on our performance of the fund vis-a-vis the benchmark, since inception and annualized was 19.19% vis-a-vis our benchmark, which was 12.11%. Since inception annualized was 11.81% vis-a-vis our benchmark, which was 7.54%. Year-to-date and annualized, which was 5.64% vis-a-vis benchmark, which was 2.69%. Year-to-date annualized 11.7% against our benchmark, which was 5.49%. When we go to our financials, you'll see on the profit and loss, at the end of June, we had 2.3 billion. And for the balance sheet, we closed at 59.25 billion. On our net asset value, we had 119.1917. So this closes on how we performed for the two money market funds. We will now go to our two fixed income funds. Josephine will take us through it.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll take you through the fixed income funds. I'll start with our income fund. Our income fund is a low risk, long-term fund, which is suitable for investors who want to invest for long-term, but also want to get monthly payouts. So this fund pays its clients on a monthly basis. This fund for this half, it has achieved a return of 6.46%, which is actually remarkable growth. During that time, we can see that it has performed better than its benchmark by a percentage. So it has performed better than the benchmark. And we see that the benchmark was performing at 10% to 11.5%. And this fund has invested about 5% in time deposits. It also has invested 15.7% in corporate bonds and 79.2% in treasury bonds. Also, we see that this fund has a AUM of 16.14 billion. It's just decreased by 1%. And when we compare its growth and its performance versus its benchmark, we can see that annualized, and since inception, it has performed 21.68%, while its benchmark has performed 19.33%. Since inception, annualized, the fund has performed 13.29%, while the benchmark has performed 11.89%. Year to date and annualized, it has performed 6.46%, while the benchmark has done 6%. Year to date annualized, the fund has performed 13.46%, while the benchmark has performed 4.6%. Now we can see even from the graph there that we have been outperforming and we have been performing very well. Also, during this half year, the fund has distributed 475 million of cash to its investors. Now we are going off to the financials. And so first of all, we can see that the financials here, we see a profit that the fund has generated is 1.02 billion. But also we also see that the NAV has been 121.65 0.6757, and then also the total unitholder equity has been 16.142 billion. Now we are going to the next fixed income fund, which is ISEF fund. ISEF fund, this is a low risk long-term fund, which is also suitable for investors of low risk, but who want to invest from medium to long term. This fund has also done tremendously well. We can see that during the half year, it has done 8.48%, which it has also performed better than its benchmark. We can see that the benchmark, which is the long-term government yields, have decreased in its yields by 10%, going towards 11.5%. And also, when we look at that since inception and annualized, the fund has performed 23.53%, while the benchmark has done 19.33%. Since inception, annualized, we see that the fund has done 14.38%, while the benchmark has done 11.89%. Year to date, we can see that the fund has done 8.48%, while the benchmark has done 6%. Year to date, annualized, the fund has done 17.84%, while the benchmark has done 12.46%. This fund so far has invested in time deposits. It has invested 29.7%, in corporate bonds 1.2%, treasury bonds it has invested 69.1%. We can see that its AUM has grown by 69%, which is very good. Now it's at 17.94 billion, and the NAV is at 123.5286. Now off to the financials. Okay, now we can look at the financials. We see that during the half year, this fund has done 1.24 billion, and its total unit holders to equity is already at 17.88 billion. As Marianne mentioned, you can see all of these financials on our website. Now, welcome Azan to go over with the ETF and the balance funds.
Thank you, Josephine. So I will take you through our balanced fund and our pure equity ETF. To begin with, I'll start with Iman Fund. Iman Fund is currently managing 17.64 billion in assets under management, which is approximately 18% increase from the beginning of the year. Iman Fund for the 6 month had a closing price of 146.6049. And that is a registration of about 6.14% in half-year returns. Because Iman Fund has a certain portion in equities, we can see that the dividend income received in 2026 from the equities held in Iman was 103.66 million Tanzanian shillings. Just to highlight the asset allocation, we have about 17.2% in equities, 3.6% in time deposits, and majority in Sukuk instruments, which is 79.2%. The fund, since its inception, has done 46.6% versus what the benchmark has done at 14.48%. On an annualized basis, that's roughly 27.54%, while the benchmark has done about 8.98%. Our year to date, like I said up there, Iman has done a half year result of 6.14%, with a comparison to its benchmark of 4.52%. Just to highlight something important about Iman, during the AUM of the Iman Fund, we had received a full support in going regional with Iman's investment mandate. And as you can see here, that we have now got a regional component to Iman Fund. And just to update you, we have started investing regionally with Iman. We are currently holding Safaricom from Kenya, as well as MTN Uganda from Uganda. Also, just a quick note, Iman Fund, because it's investing in equities, had a purification component to it, where we took the impermissible revenue from TPCC's earnings versus their total revenue, which came to a purification rate of about 0.38%. And out of the 103 million that Tanga paid in dividends for 2025, we purified 0.38% of it, and it was given to a charity. I will now take you through the profit and loss statement. So as you can see, for the 6-month period ending 30th June, Iman had a total net income of 966 million shillings, with an asset under management of about a total unit holder equity of about 17.55 billion. And as we saw earlier, the closing NAV for 30th June was 146.6049. Taking you through our next balance fund, iGrowth Fund. iGrowth Funds has an asset under management of about 205.83 billion, which is a representation of 112% growth since the beginning of the year. The closing NAV for 30th June was 221.0784, and that represents a half-year return of a staggering return of 51.64%. Like Iman Fund, iGrowth also invests in equities and therefore has a dividend component. As we can see that we received a total of 3.53 billion in dividends from the equities that iGrowth Fund holds. As far as asset allocations are concerned, we can see that we have about 10.2% in time deposits. We have 71.5% in equity instruments. We've got 7.3% in treasury bonds, and also 11.1% allocated to exchange traded funds. Highlighting the performance numbers, since inception, iGrowth Fund has done 121.08%, compared to its benchmark of 38.84%. And year to date, as I mentioned up there, 51.64% half-year returns, whereas the benchmark had a return of 18.97%. Yeah, I think we'll move to the financials now. Just to highlight, we've got a 6-month ending 30th June 2026, a profit of 61.71 billion, with an asset under management of 205 billion. And as I alluded earlier, the closing NAV for 31st June was 221.0784. Taking you to our newest fund, the exchange traded fund. The exchange traded fund, which is EAC ETF, has a market cap of about 142.49 billion. Having launched on 28th of January, it hasn't completed a full half year, but since its inception, it has grown by about 169%. The closing price on DSC as at 31st June was 1,260, which represents a half-year return of 26% when it was issued at 1,000 shillings. The ETF also has a component of dividend income, and as you can see, we have about 538 billion Tanzanian shillings received through dividends in 2026 alone. Just to note, because the fund is an exchange traded product, you can see that there's a slight difference between the NAV, which grew at about 28.8%, versus the market price, which closed at 1,260, which shows that the fund towards the end of June was trading at a slight discount compared to its price on the stock exchange. Just to note that prior to March, it was trading at a premium, and then there was a slight shift to a discount. And as things stand, it's pretty much neck and neck. So just to show you that this is how the fund has performed. I will take you now through the asset allocation of the ETF. As we all know, the ETF is a diversified product, and by diversified, it means it has a sector allocation diversification as well as a country allocation diversification. So you can see that according to sector allocations, we had about 44.53% in banking stocks, with the likes of NMB, CRDB, Equity Bank, KCB Bank. We've got 28.83% in telco companies. That's the like of Vodacom, Safaricom, MTN Uganda. We've got a few manufacturing stocks at 21.2%. The likes of TPCC, Tanga Cement, TCC as well. And we've also got a small component in insurance companies, which is Jubilee Holdings at 5.21%. Country allocations, you can see that we've got about 50.64% invested in Kenya. We've got about 34.6% in Tanzania, 9.92% in Uganda, and a small component in Rwanda at 4.83%. Just to highlight some of the top performers, you can see that most of them are beautiful companies performing at beautiful returns. You've got the likes of NMB at 59%, CRDB at 31%. You've got a few Kenyan companies, Jubilee Holdings doing 29.1% during this period. KCB having a growth of about 26.32%. And you can see that the Rwandan stock as well, BKG, with about 21.74%. Yeah, I'll take you through the financials. So again, this is not the full 6 month, but just under 6 months, which is about 5 months. The total net profit for EAC large cap was at 25.69 billion. And the total units attributed to shareholders is about 145.73 billion, and with a closing net asset value of 1,288.6510. That brings us to the end of it. Let me hand back to our moderator, Winnie.
Thank you very much, team, for that extensive and thorough presentation on the performance of the funds so far. To start us off, if you can go back to the graph for iSave. We have a question that reads, the graph for of iSave shows a sudden jump in June. What could have caused that move? It appears to have had a sudden or steady growth up until that point. Can you walk us through that a bit, please?
So basically, iSave Fund, since its inception, iSave has predominantly been holding till maturity bonds. This year, after the fund has grown to a significant level, we're having a certain portion that is tradable bonds. So when you notice this sort of jump, basically we had a bond that we sold for a profit. If I take you to the next page with the financials, you'll notice that under net interest income, there's net gain from instruments carried at fair value. So essentially what that represents is that we sold a bond and there was a capital appreciation when we sold that bond. And you can see that it's done pretty well. The bond being sold made about 427 billion in profits for the fund. And that's exactly what the jump represents.
Thank you for that. I would also like to remind our listeners, our investors, potential investors, please do type your questions in the chat or Q&A, and we will address them. Before we get into the questions for the other funds, Prof, can I bring you out for a bit?
Yes.
We have a question with regards to the Sukuk bond issued in April 2026. One of our investors says that it was not advertised like the bond issued in June. What was the reason? Yes, let's leave it with the Sukuk first, and then we'll get back to the other questions.
Yeah, I think I see Fahad's question. The Sukuk issuance was a private placement, so this was not open to the full public. So the bond that was done later, was listed on the DSC, was a public bond, but the Sukuk was a privately placed Sukuk, and that meant that it was offered to a limited pool of institutional investors, and that is one of the reasons why that you didn't see it in the media and advertising. On the issue of EAC ETF not paying dividends, I can quickly say that the reason is mostly tax-based. The EAC ETF holds securities in multiple countries. Those are taxable. Dividends have a tax component. So we leave it to investors to decide whenever they want to realize any of their gains, and they can create their own return stream whenever they sell any of their units, rather than us paying taxes by offering a dividend payout, which cause complications because of the way this is a multi-country ETF. So this is an accumulating ETF. It's not a dividend paying ETF.
Thank you very much, Prof. While we are still on the ETF, as it's trading in the DSE, does it have an ISIN? Has it been assigned to it? And if yes, what is the code? And just if you can also explain to people who don't necessarily trade what it is, what it signifies, and what it means. Thank you.
Yeah, so the iTrust ETF does have an ISIN number. I think it's a bit of a long number, so for now I will post it onto the Q&A so everyone can see it. And we will also share it with them in due course. But essentially, an ISIN number is for any instrument that's traded or listed on the stock exchange, there's a particular unique identification number. And that is exactly what the ISIN number is. It's the ETF's unique trading identification number.
Thank you for that, Azan. I think now we can get into the iGrowth questions. We have a few of them. Starting us off, what equities or which equities does the iGrowth fund currently hold? And are iGrowth equity dividends equally or rather entirely reinvested, or is part of them paid to the fund manager? And then can you please explain again the expected performance of iGrowth for the entire 2026 in relation, I think, to the benchmark? So if we can start first with the equities.
Okay, so to just answer your question,
some of the equities that iGrowth holds, we have the likes of cross-listed shares like KCB, we have NMB, we have Tanga Cement, but you can be able to see all the shares that iGrowth holds in our financials. And then also to take you through the performance. So in terms of the dividends are usually reinvested, and yes, that does impact the performance of the fund. So you see, whenever we receive dividends, they're actually reinvested back to the fund, and that boosts the growth of the NAV. Okay. And then we had the other one with regards to the expected
Just a
performance.
second, Winnie.
Okay.
The question included the issue that is any of the dividend paid to the manager? No, the dividends are owned by the unit holders.
Thank you, Prof. For the iGrowth expected performance.
As far as expected performance for iGrowth is concerned, unlike iSave or any of our fixed income fund, you can sort of gauge with fixed income securities. But because iGrowth invests in the stock market, and stock markets tend to have a demand-oriented performance, it's very difficult to tell how stocks will be perceived during the period that you're looking at, right? So as far as returns are concerned, it may be very difficult to gauge the sort of performance that iGrowth will do versus some of our fixed income securities. Yeah.
Staying with iGrowth, as iGrowth is now able to invest in ETFs, for example, the iTrust East African Community Large Cap ETF, what stands out as the difference between the two for one looking to invest for growth?
Right. So essentially with the iGrowth being able to invest in ETFs, it gives it exposure to instruments that are listed outside Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, right? Because the ETF is listed on the DSE, but the ETF itself has exposure to Ugandan stocks. It has exposure to Kenyan stocks. So essentially, it gives a small component of iGrowth the exposure to allocations beyond Tanzanian market as well. So that's the kind of benefit that translates into iGrowth returns as well. And with that being said, this is just one ETF, right? But allowing it ETFs, essentially, it allows any ETF that can be future potentially listed on the stock exchange can be part of the iGrowth asset allocation as well.
Thank you for that. We have people asking about the financials for iGrowth. So I'll talk about all of the financials in general. So they will be available on the iTrust website. So if you go to our website and you go to our resources, you'll find them under Fund Financial Reports. We haven't published them yet, but tomorrow, I believe, they should be up on the website. And they will also be available or published in the newspapers as well for reference. But at the moment, if you can just go to the financials. Here's a brief of the profit and loss together with the financial position. So if there's a specific question, Everest, that you have with regards to that, you can share and then we can address it. We also have another question with regards to iGrowth. How did you come up with the figure of 131% annualized for iGrowth if stock performance cannot be predicted?
Can we go back to the previous slide?
Okay.
So just to clarify how there's an unannualized number and then there's an annualized number. So if you can see that the year to date unannualized is 51.64, which is the returns the fund has already made in this half-year period. All the annualized number does is if this performance continues for the next 6 months, that is the sort of return. So the 131.54% is if the current historical performance remains, what the investor can expect by the end of the year would be 131.54%. So it's not something that we're gauging. It's something that if current performance continues, that is sort of the number that you can expect at the end of the year. So it's not any guaranteed return per se. It's just a prediction based on current returns.
Thank you, Ozan. Given that most of the funds are invested in government bonds and looking at the recent drop in interest rates, what is the prospect of bond pricing between now and year end? So I think it's more of the fund, maybe. Prof, if you can take that.
Yeah, I think the observation that interest rate trend has been moving lower. I think that is factual. So I think we do have new bonds that are coming into the portfolio that have a lower yields. So that's one of the reasons why you have seen in iSave and maybe a few other funds where we have some of the bonds that are being held for trading, and those are helping us improve performance. But overall, yields are coming down, and that has been the trend over the last year and a half. So overall, we expect that trend to at some point stabilize, and hopefully yields remain at these levels or at some point even go up. We don't actually just think about we know what the direction of yields are, but we position the portfolio to take advantage of whichever direction yields go.
Thank you, Prof. I would like to remind you that please do type the questions in the chat and Q&A, and we will address them. Before we proceed to the other questions, there's a question with regards to INM Bank offering the Hatua bond. So just with regards to this, the offering opens on Monday, which means that it will be available on iTrust's website, app, and portal on Monday. Just a brief on the bond. It's a 5-year bond offering 13%. The public notice has already been issued, and it will be open and available for subscription starting Monday. And we will be holding a webinar next week as well. So please look out for that if you'd like to learn more about the Hatua bond that will be offered by INM Bank. And now let's get back to the iFunds. If a client holds both iGrowth and the ETF, is it sound advice to suggest selling the ETF and going all in on iGrowth, since iGrowth already includes exposure to it?
So that's a very good question. I think with regards to selling one for the other would highly depend on your risk tolerance and your risk levels, the kind of investments you're looking for your personal portfolio. So it's sort of tailored to individual clients, right? I would highly encourage you to come see our customer service desk at iTrust. And we will be more than happy to help guide you through your investment portfolio personally. But for now, that's the most I can guide you with.
And on top of that,
Thank you,
just
Ozan.
afterwards.
Sorry, let me just add one point here. The current ETF weighting inside iGrowth is only 11%. So iGrowth is not really that heavy in a particular ETF. Most of its assets, about 90%, are non-ETF assets. And the ETF has exposures that are unique to it in terms of multi-country, multi-sectoral. It's listed on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. It's an exchange-traded ETF. And I think that investors can actually hold both of them under their allocation towards equities and towards balanced funds. Remember, iGrowth is much more balanced. It's much more risk, operates at a lower risk because it's not a pure equities fund, even though it's heavy in that space. But I think both of them are worthy to be held by investor depending on your own particular personal circumstances.
Thank you very much, Prof. As we are continuing to review the questions, I would also like to remind our iFund investors to please download the iTrust app. It makes investing in funds very easy. You can invest from anywhere. You can make your payment immediately through MNOs. You can also attach your proof of payment. So we encourage you to please make sure you create your order first and then make the payment to make sure that your investment is properly allocated, especially for the individuals who also hold minor accounts, to make sure that the units are allocated to the proper account. If you guys want to add anything on that,
Yes.
that's yeah. And back to the questions. Okay, we have quite a few. We have a few with bonds. Let's go back to iGrowth. You mentioned that we can view the underlying equities held by iGrowth. However, I was unable to locate them on the iGrowth financial slide you just presented.
So basically, it's not usually in the half year results. It's usually in the full year results. So if you open iGrowth's annual results for 2025, you will be able to see exactly the number of equities, how many number of shares we're holding for each company, and the exact allocation for all our equity securities on that document.
Just for reference as well, it's available on the website. If you go to our resources and under financials, you'll be able to find all of the reports for the year ending December 2025 in order to be able to get a better understanding of the holdings for last year. We have quite a few questions on bonds. Towards end of last year, there were lots of adverts on Stawi bond. Is this instrument available at stock market via the iTrust app? Meanwhile, I can't see it on corporate bond list in the iTrust app. We also have another one. When will the online platform be ready for the corporate accounts, both app and web? I'm guessing this is web portal. Prof, would you like to take a bit of this?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
We were the transaction advisors. iTrust was the transaction advisors for the Stawi bond. The Stawi bond was an extremely successful bond. It went to market looking to raise about 50 billion. The whole program for TCB, Tanzania Commercial Bank, was 150, and we successfully raised the whole program's amount. So this was listed on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. It trades on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, and under our app, usually when you go to the app and you scroll downwards, you find most of the bonds. I'm not sure why you didn't see the Stawi particularly, but I will look into that exactly why you have not seen it under our bonds. When you open our app and you go to the bonds section, you have two parts: government bonds and corporate bonds. If you click on the corporate bonds, it gives you the different types and maturities that are available in there, and CKCB, NMB, NMB Jamii, and so there may be something about Stawi that is not show up, but we will correct that, and you'll be able to see it in the near future.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, Prof. Stanley, please do send us your phone number to just the panelists and hosts, and we will make sure to give you a call so that we can sort out if there's anything wrong, but it should be available under your portfolio. I think, Prof, there are people who are very excited about the app and the web portal. I think for the corporate accounts as well, do we want to say anything, or should we leave that as a surprise?
I think surprise is a good thing.
Yeah.
But coming soon, let me put it that
Yeah.
way. But the portal is excellent for corporates, provides them all the information any corporate requires in terms of this portfolio holdings.
Yes, thank you, Prof. But that being said, please follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things iTrust. It has, we're just wrapping up July, but so far, so many things have happened. And as Prof has mentioned, the INM bond is also coming up. So things are just heating up, right? The year is we still have 5 months, and it's still looking very busy. So please follow us on social media to be aware of all of the things that are going on. As we are continuing to wait, we have one question that just came in. Jamali, we have a question from you. You seem to have been having problems with your NIDA verification. Again, as I mentioned to Stanley, please drop us your number and we will reach out to you to find out what the problem was. Yes, so please drop us your numbers and we will reach out to you immediately after the call so that we can resolve you. Thank you, Jamali. I would also like to ask Stanley and I believe Faustina as well. Please share your numbers and we will reach out to you as soon as possible to see, thank you, Faustina, to see what the matter might be. That being said, we'll give it a few minutes for any other questions. Thank you, Stanley, as well. We'll make sure our customer service team reaches out to you and walks you through the process in case there's any challenge. And I would also like to remind our investors, just bearing in mind what Yamali had said, in case you were using the app from last year, we have upgraded the app and done some significant changes. So please make sure you're also using the new app. And if you go to our Instagram page, one of the posts pinned will walk you through how to migrate from the old app into the new app. So that might also be something that is happening. As we're waiting for more questions, again, we had a webinar last week with regards to how to unlock the potential and the power that is in the new iTrust app. It is available on YouTube. So we encourage you. It's a great way to find out the trends for these funds. If you'd also like to invest in shares, it's also a great place for you to find out the different companies, the history, what is currently happening on the board. All of that is available on the app to make sure that you stay up to date and have the proper information when you want to invest. We have a question with regards to, before we go back to iGrowth and the ETF, Citi asks, why is it that we have a lot of updates coming in a lot of the time? As you know, the market is constantly changing, constantly evolving, and we are making sure that all of the data stays up to date, all of the features stay up to date in order to make sure that your experience continues to be amazing. Our team is constantly working, finding out new features. Our customer service team as well is also working hand in hand with them to find out if there are any struggles that our clients have. We fix them immediately. So this is one of the reasons that we are constantly having new updates. Okay, and then we have, should one download the new app or the updates are auto-pushed onto the current app? Okay, in case you had the old app, you will be automatically told that there's a new version available. If you click on it, it will take you to either App Store or Google Play, and you'll be able to download the new app. It is the only one currently available on App Store and Play Store. If you're having any trouble, just go to the respective store, type iTrust Finance, and then the app will come up. In case you also can't find it, if you go on our Instagram page, we have pinned the links to the app. That should make it easier for you to find it and to be able to download it. Okay, Prof, we have, we have a question for you. What governance structures are in place to address potential conflicts of interest inherent in managing both iGrowth and the ETF?
I think the two of them don't have any much crossing between them. But I want to point out one thing which is general to all the funds that we have at iTrust Each one of our funds has a custodian and a trustee outside the manager. So iTrust is a fund manager. Its job is to ensure that investments align with the interest and returns, compliance and record keeping. But there is a trustee custodian who not only holds the funds, holds the securities, makes sure the securities are registered, and makes sure that every transaction that contains any form of conflict of interest is pre-approved. Let me point everybody to the regulations in Tanzania. CMSA has a collective investment schemes regulation. The collective investment schemes regulation, beside requiring that there be a trustee and custodian, it requires there be an auditor. It requires there be an AGM. It requires there be interim financials to be published. It also requires that any time anybody who has a conflict of interest trades with a particular fund, that has to be, before the trade takes place, notified to the custodian and who is also custodian trustee, and the custodian trustee provides pre-approval, meaning that, let's say, for example, I'm a director at iTrust. My name is Mohammed, and I want to sell some shares, and it happened to be that the shares to be sold are going into any of our funds. Automatically, that requires the fund team, before executing that trade, and the broker executing that trade, to request that the custodian trustee review that, see that the price being transacted at is a market price, and they get a pre-approval. So there are checks and balances. These are embedded not because of the policies of iTrust or the policies of any particular fund manager. Let me not even pick on iTrust. This is a general regulation in the laws of the country, that any issue that has to do with an interested party transacting with a fund, those are disclosed. So we do have internally policies whereby anybody who is transacting in anything that has a conflict of interest, those are disclosed. Those go to the trustee custodian. They are documented. The auditor takes a look at them, and everybody else can see them. And those follow the established regulations of collective investment schemes in Tanzania. So please, if you need to understand, you can download them from the CMSA website. You can see what are those rules that govern a fund and how a fund should manage. We adhere to them. At iTrust, we have an internal audit function, we have a compliance function, and obviously we have the custodian trustees that we need to engage with. And over time, we also get audited. So those are the controls in place to ensure that conflicts of interest don't arise between any parties within iTrust network.
Thank you very much, Prof. I will leave, there's a question that I think would be best if we close it with. For now, I'd like to address a few questions. Just curious, when are we likely to see an iTrust investor group or community on WhatsApp up and running? Everest, this is something that we're working on. Please, again, as I've mentioned, stay tuned on our social media. And once we have it up and running, we'll also make sure that we inform you as well. So yes, that is something that we are working on, just to make sure that you stay up to date on all things iTrust and all things investing related. We also have questions about the best way to receive investment consultation, especially for those who can't come physically to the office. So we have a number of options. One, you can reach out to our customer service through either email or our phone. But the other option is iTrust does give financial literacy trainings. So if you do have a group, either it's a Kikoba, it's your office, and would like to learn more about investing, please reach out to our customer service team. So you can email them customerservice@itrust.co.tz. Let them know how many you are, where you are, what are your needs, and then we will ensure that we get a team to come to you to give a session, or we can actually do it virtually. Also, we do offer a lot of webinars in case you'd like to learn more about investing. So please do, again, as I mentioned, continue checking our social media platforms to stay up to date on what we have happening. That being said, Prof, there are people who would like to preempt us a lot and are not fans of surprises. So Will iTrust issue new financial products before the end of the year? Prof, you're
Absolutely,
smiling.
yes. Absolutely, yes. We are planning to issue many products,
Okay.
not only for ourselves but also for our clients. As you know, we are doing one next week. So the Hatua bond that has been mentioned, this call for INM Bank, we believe that some of those are going to be coming. And there are a few other products we have in the pipeline, which may be coming before year end or early next year, some of them. And some of them are extremely innovative, and some of them are bringing in new facets to the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. Allow us not to speak ahead of getting regulatory approvals, because as you know, we are a financial institution regulated by regulators like CMSA, BSC, Bank of Tanzania, and we cannot speak of things that are not approved by the regulators. But once approved by the regulators, we put out public notifications. All our clients like yourselves, you'll be getting emails, webinars. So please keep on top of our social media channels and look out for our emails, and you will be positively surprised with the number of products and services that iTrust is bringing to the market.
Thank you very much, Prof. I believe that is a beautiful conclusion to the session. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in to the English session. I'd like to remind you that the Swahili session will start in about 5 minutes. So please do allow us to take a brief break, and we'll be back at 5. For those of you who are logging off, we appreciate you for joining the session. We appreciate the questions. Thank you for staying up to date with all things iTrust, all things investing related. We never stop learning. There are constantly new products. So please stay up to date with all things iTrust to learn more. That being said, have a great evening, and we will see you shortly for the Swahili session. Thank you. Please do not log off. It's the same link.